The morning sun had barely crested over the skyline of Fairfield, Georgia, when the black Chevy Tahoe pulled into the employee lot of the Fairfield Police Department. Its tinted windows reflected the glare of a new day, one brimming with significance. Inside sat Commander Elijah Brooks, 45 years old, decorated U.S. Army veteran, graduate of Quantico's FBI National Academy, and, as of today, the newly appointed Chief of Police for Fairfield. Tall, clean-shaven with a smooth chocolate complexion and sharp brown eyes that had seen war and justice alike, Elijah was a man who commanded respect quietly, but firmly. Dressed in a simple charcoal gray suit and black tie, he looked more like a lawyer than the highest-ranking officer in the city. He wasn't expected at the department for another 2 hours. But Elijah wasn't one to announce his presence with pomp and ceremony. He believed true leadership didn't need a spotlight. It created for others. So he arrived early. He wanted to walk through the building in silence, take in the atmosphere, and feel the pulse of the department he was about to lead. He never made it inside. Officer Greg Talbot was finishing up his coffee when he spotted the unfamiliar Tahoe in the lot. Tall, stocky, red-faced, and 38 years into life, but already bitter at the world, Talbot had been on the force for nearly 11 years, long enough to grow cynical and careless. He watched the vehicle from his parked cruiser nearby. Out-of-state plates, tinted windows, and he's just sitting there? Talbot muttered to himself. Great. He didn't call it in. He didn't run the plates. He just grabbed his coffee, exited the cruiser, and approached, hand resting on his holster. Through the windshield, he could see the man inside, black, calm, dressed sharp. That only made Talbot more suspicious. Another slick-talking suit, probably casing the department, he thought. Maybe a journalist. Maybe worse. He knocked aggressively on the window. Elijah, who had just picked up a leather folder from the passenger seat, looked up calmly and rolled it down. Morning, officer, Elijah said, with the soft command of someone used to authority. Talbot narrowed his eyes. Who are you? What are you doing here? His tone wasn't welcoming. Elijah raised an eyebrow. I'm here early for a meeting. Aye. Step out of the vehicle, Talbot snapped, already reaching for his sidearm. Elijah's expression shifted, from composed to mildly alarmed, but not panicked. I assure you, officer, there's no need. I said step out. Now the gun was unholstered. Elijah complied slowly, raising both hands. It was 6:45 a.m., but traffic had started building on the main road just beyond the lot. A mother dropping off her kid at the nearby daycare paused. A jogger slowed down. A civilian employee at the station entrance froze. And there stood Elijah Brooks, hands raised, calm and unmoving, facing a police officer with his weapon drawn. Turn around. Hands on the hood. Talbot barked. Elijah obeyed. What's in your pockets? A badge, Elijah said, voice steady. And my credentials. I was just about to present them when... Shut up. I'll decide if they're real. Talbot yanked the wallet from Elijah's coat, tossed it to the pavement, and kicked his legs apart. On your knees. Elijah hesitated. Now. Elijah knelt, slowly, not in submission, but in quiet fury. A second patrol unit pulled up. Officer Luis Ramirez, a young cop in his early 30s, stepped out, confusion on his face. Talbot, what's going on? Caught this guy snooping in the lot. Possible threat. Talbot spat. Ramirez walked over and picked up a wallet. He opened it and froze. His eyes widened. He looked from the ID photo to the man on his knees, then back again. Oh no, he whispered. Talbot, what have you done? Ramirez held up the ID. A gleaming gold badge from the State Department of Public Safety, a laminated photo ID. Chief Elijah Brooks, Fairfield Police Department. Ramirez ran to Talbot. Put your gun down. Now. What? He's a new police chief. The silence was immediate. Talbot's face drained of all color. His hands trembled. He lowered the weapon slowly, like realizing he had just shot his own career in the foot. Elijah rose to his feet calmly, dirt on his knees, dignity still intact. He looked Talbot in the eye and said nothing, because he didn't need to. Word spread fast. The station buzzed with whispers before Elijah even entered the lobby. Dispatchers stared. Detectives paused mid-call. Even the captain stuttered when he saw Elijah calmly enter the main conference room, dusting off his pants. The mayor arrived an hour later, sweating, apologizing profusely. But Elijah didn't demand an apology. He demanded an internal review. He demanded accountability. Officer Greg Talbot was placed on immediate administrative leave, pending investigation. His weapon was seized. His badge revoked temporarily. The body cam footage was already circulating internally, and someone had leaked a civilian recording to local news. Elijah's silent strength during the confrontation became a rallying image for racial bias training advocates across the state. But Elijah didn't want to be a martyr. He wanted to lead. And so, 2 hours later, still in the same dusty pants he'd been forced to kneel in, he stood before the department's officers for his official introduction. He stood at the podium. No notes. I wasn't going to tell you all what kind of chief I planned to be, Elijah began, voice even. I was going to show you, over time, with fairness, integrity. He paused. But this morning I was shown who some of you think I am, before even knowing my name. A hushed silence filled the room. Some of you will say it was a misunderstanding, a mistake. I understand mistakes. But when those mistakes come with a drawn gun and a knee on the pavement, they stop being mistakes. They become messages. He looked around the room. I'm here to change that message. Starting now. Officer Greg Talbot sat in silence at his disciplinary hearing. Across the table sat Chief Elijah Brooks, flanked by the department's oversight committee, a representative from the mayor's office, and a civilian review board member. The video had already gone viral. Local news stations were looping the footage. A white officer, gun drawn, barking orders at an unarmed black man in a business suit. The final moment, when the man stands up and the camera zooms in on his badge, had already become a national headline. Talbot looked exhausted. His career was in free fall. But Elijah didn't come to destroy him. He came to change the system that created him. The Oversight Committee chair leaned forward. Chief Brooks, would you like to make a statement? Elijah stood. My name is Elijah Brooks. I am the chief of police for Fairfield. I've served my country. I've served my state. I've trained officers on how to lead with courage and humility. What happened to me that morning was not a personal attack. It was a cultural symptom. He glanced at Talbot. Greg Talbot didn't see a chief. He didn't see a leader. He saw my skin. And everything he assumed about me flowed from that one fact. He paced slowly, hands folded behind his back. I was humiliated, not because I was weak, but because the uniform he wore gave him unchecked power. Power without empathy is dangerous. A long pause. I'm not here to ruin his life. I'm here to save the next one. Surprisingly, Talbot spoke up. For the first time, his voice wasn't defensive. It was quiet. I didn't know who he was. But that's not the point, is it? He said, head bowed. If he had been a regular guy, just sitting in his car, I still would have treated him like a criminal. I didn't see a man. I saw a threat. And I didn't realize how deep that ran until I saw the look in his eyes when I had him on his knees. He looked up at Elijah. I don't expect forgiveness, but I am sorry, not because of your title, but because I forgot you were a human being first. The room was still. Elijah accepted the apology, but demanded change. Talbot was demoted and reassigned to a non-patrol, non-public role pending a 6-month bias rehabilitation and retraining program. Elijah created a new protocol. No officer could return to duty after a discriminatory incident without completing mandatory community-led reconciliation sessions. The department also launched a Shadow Week program. Officers would shadow civilians in their communities, attending churches, schools, and small businesses to build empathy and understanding. Elijah didn't just want to discipline the problem. He wanted to dismantle it. Months passed. Elijah was working late one Friday night when a knock came on his office door. It was Talbot, clean-shaven, dressed neatly, holding a small folder. I know I'm not your favorite person, Talbot said awkwardly, but I've been volunteering at the community center downtown, talking to kids, listening more than I talk. I just wanted to show you this. He handed Elijah a letter, a signed petition from local residents requesting that Talbot be allowed to participate in the department's youth mentoring initiative. Elijah looked at it, then back at him. "Keep doing the work," he said simply. Talbot nodded and left. 1 year later, Fairfield was named one of the most improved police departments in the state of Georgia. Use of force incidents dropped by 47%. Civilian complaints plummeted. Community trust rose dramatically. Chief Brooks stood at a podium at the state assembly, receiving a civic leadership award. But it wasn't the award that mattered to him. It was what came after. He walked into a local high school that afternoon, where a young black boy looked up at him, eyes wide. "You're the chief, right?" Elijah smiled. "That's right." The boy pointed to the badge on Elijah's chest. "So they didn't stop you, huh?" Elijah knelt, not in defeat this time, but to meet the boy eye to eye. "No," he said, "they didn't stop me, and they won't stop you either." The story of Elijah Brooks became more than a headline. It became a blueprint. He didn't just survive a racist incident. He transformed it into reform. He showed that dignity is more powerful than rage, that leadership rooted in humility can outlast hate, and that real change doesn't come from punishment alone. It comes from redemption, from accountability, and from bold, principled action. When power meets prejudice, courage must answer and when justice wears the face of those once targeted by it, the system can finally begin to heal.